Hey everyone, I'm David Berkowitz, back with another edition of AI Insiders with AI Marketers Guild, part of the Marketecture family. And excited here to have someone I've been collaborating with pretty closely the past couple months and look forward to doing way more with Jamerlyn Brown, who's part of the data communications team over at Intuit, which I've been very closely involved with this year. And so Intuit specifically on the QuickBooks side has been putting out some I think, I am biased. I'll share that up front, but some pretty impactful research on how small businesses are using AI and how that's affecting them. And so I was like, please, Jamerlyn, come into my other world for a little bit and be great to introduce you to the community. So, Jamerlyn, welcome.
Thanks everybody for having me, and thanks David for the intro. I'm really excited to talk about some of the research that we recently produced over here at Intuit QuickBooks and walk y'all through sort of our data storytelling perspective on this case study. So I am actually going to share my screen here. Let's see. Okay, so hello everyone. Jamerlyn Brown, Principal Communications Manager at Intuit QuickBooks. I've been here now for 4 years, and today I'm really excited to take you inside the 2026 QuickBooks AI Impact Report. So I'm going to cover two things today: what we learned about how small and mid-sized businesses are actually using AI, and how we turn that data into a communications platform across PR, social, video, influencer, policy, and amplification. So, like I mentioned, this is a case study in AI adoption, but it is also a case study in data storytelling. So, killing two birds with one stone for this group.
Mhm.
And we all know, right, that AI is one of the loudest conversations in the business sphere right now. The opportunity is definitely there for marketers, for data storytellers, for thought leaders, and the opportunity is really to move beyond broader claims and find the specific, credible stories that customers can recognize. So that. So, what is data communications? Has anybody here actually heard of it, or are you more familiar with thought leadership? Yeah. So it can be a little confusing. I just want to start here before we get into the report, and I want to start with the discipline behind it. So, I want to be clear about what our team does because I think it shapes how we approached this project. So, data comms is not PR and it's not technically thought leadership. It really starts with evidence, not a particular point of view. So, we're in the business of translating data into stories that people can use. And the discipline question to ask here is: does the claim come from data, or does the data come after the claim? So if AI marketers are drowning in AI takes, data comms is how you cut through with something credible and authority building. And as we know, AI marketing needs a lot of credibility right now. I mean, who hasn't been on LinkedIn and seen their feed just flooded with AI takes, right? So data gives communicators a way to make AI feel real and specific and useful instead of abstract or overhyped. So for an audience already surrounded by AI claims, evidence is what earns attention here. Okay, so why did we build this report? Um, I think this is really important to start here. Just checking the chat. Great. Okay. I think it's really important to start here. So by early 2026, by early this year, everyone had an AI take, right? Like what I was mentioning before,
Mhm.
you go log into LinkedIn and your feed is flooded with AI takes. The coverage is very, very loud, as we all know. But what our team kept asking is what is actually happening inside small and growing businesses, what we call mid-sized businesses? The practical questions that small business owners are asking are much more grounded than a lot of the headlines. Are other businesses actually using AI? Where? And most importantly, is it actually helping? What is stopping them from going further? So we wanted to answer these questions with data, not anecdotes. And this is the brief that every good research project starts with for us. knowing the question before we build the instrument. And the best AI stories usually start with the audience's real questions, things that are grounded. Small business owners are not asking for theory, right? If you're a small business owner and you're wearing 10 hats a day, you have to be your own marketer, you have to communicate with your lawyer, you have to communicate with your accountant. Those things get overwhelming very quickly. And more importantly, they take up a lot of time. So owners and leaders are asking whether AI can actually help save them time, help them better serve customers, make decisions, and run their businesses better. So that is a really useful reminder, meeting the audience where they are and then bringing the data in. So what differentiates us in the market, right? I want you to paint that picture in your head again of that LinkedIn feed that's just flooded with AI takes. Most AI adoption research is survey only. Ours is not. So the report is built on two data sources. First, survey data. So more than 34,000 responses from small and mid-sized business owners and operators across 4 countries. So the US, Canada, the UK, and Australia. That helped us understand how businesses say they are using AI and what impact they're reporting. But second, and I would say most critically, is anonymized payment records for more than 5.3 million businesses using QuickBooks or our other product Intuit Enterprise Suite. Um, the survey tells you what people say. The payment data tells you what they actually do, right? Where are they putting their money where their mouth is? Together, they tell a more complete story. So the payment data is what gives us something that no one else has: behavioral evidence of paid AI commitment. Methodology is credibility here, right? When we're building these stories. So when you pitch a story or a brief, the strength of the underlying data is what earns trust for our audience and for media. So strong data storytelling starts with knowing what each data source can and can't say. The survey helped us tell the broad adoption story. And then the payment data helped us tell the investment and commitment story. So I think that distinction made the narrative stronger and more defensible. Okay, so what do thousands of survey responses and millions of anonymized payment records reveal about AI adoption today, right? What is it actually saying? Um, I think adoption stories are stronger when they show nuance. Everyone is using AI is too broad. Businesses are using AI in different ways at different levels of commitment, gives us a more useful and, again, a more credible story to tell. So the central tension here of our story for the report, AI use is broad, paid commitment is narrower, most who invest stay committed. So on average, across the countries we looked at, about 7 in 10 businesses surveyed use AI regularly. And that includes everything, like the full spectrum: free tools, built-in features, paid subscriptions. But when we look at anonymized payment data, about 1 in 10 are paying for dedicated AI tools. So there's a gap there, right? We have this huge number, and then it gets smaller when we look at paid investment. That's a much narrower signal, but a really important one. Among those that paid for AI in 2024, roughly 8 in 10 were still paying a year later. So that tells us 3 things. Many businesses are experimenting, which we know. A smaller group is investing, which I think fewer people know. And most businesses that invest keep paying, which is our unique insight based on our anonymized payment records here. So that's really where the report begins. It's the distance between broader use and deeper commitment. I think this is a more useful adoption story than a single headline number. For marketers, I think it creates segmentation. So who is experimenting? Who's ready to invest? And who needs more confidence before they go deeper? And each group needs different messaging. So AI adoption over time, right? This is kind of where we started. Let's look at how the broader popularity of AI for small and growing businesses. So you can see here across the 4 countries that we tracked in the survey data, across every market, the direction is the same, upwards. So in the US, regular AI use rose from 48% in 2024 to 77% this year. So we see similar trends in Canada, the UK, and Australia. And daily use is growing even faster. So I think in UK and Australia, daily use more than tripled. So that matters because daily use tells us something a bit different from occasional experimentation. it suggests that AI is becoming part of the operating rhythm for more businesses. So the occasional AI user is occasionally becoming the habitual one. And the question is becoming less about whether businesses use AI and more about how deeply it fits into their work and their work streams.
And
So, yeah, go for it.
I mean, I'm just curious. Like, did you get to see if anything happened around April 2025 that like seemed to be some almost like a tipping point?
That is a great question.
Mhm.
We didn't look at April 2025. We do know, obviously, with the rollout of ChatGPT in like 2023, that's sort of
Right.
what kicked off this trajectory. But that would be a great thing to investigate for our next report. What
Yeah,
specifically happened?
because there were some things like Claude was rapidly improving, Gemini was, but it's like here it just seems like there was like this step change.
Mhm.
Yeah, especially globally, so it's even more striking. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's definitely, I think, transitional period. I'm curious too to hear from the group. Obviously, it's sort of what if this reflects trends that you have been seeing or experiencing yourself. So adoption data helps, I think, communicators and marketers just show momentum without relying on hype. And the strongest point here is the behavior change, right? They're not just businesses aren't just trying AI once, more using it regularly and daily. So that gives us an opportunity to build a stronger foundation for campaigns, customer education, product storytelling, right? That's sort of our foundation there. So adoption is one story. Broadly speaking, a lot of people are using AI. A lot of businesses are
Mhm.
using AI. Great. Box checked. What about the impact? What about the effects, right? If you're going back to that profile I illustrated earlier. You're a business owner, you're wearing 10 different hats every day. Your time is limited. You're trying to grow, you're trying to manage a team potentially. You have your family, right? You still have this whole personal life that you need to manage. Time is of the essence. Why incorporate something unless it's going to have some sort of real world impact? So the next question is always impact. Businesses using AI we found are answering that call by saying that they are seeing more gains than setbacks. So I think this particularly stood out because 2025 in our data wasn't the easiest year for businesses. Our index data actually shows that in the US, employment among small businesses fell by about 3.46%, I think, 4%. In Canada, it was similar. I think it was the largest annual decline in small business employment since 2015.
Mm.
So this 2025 was not easy, right, across the board for small businesses, small and growing businesses. So against that backdrop, we asked businesses using AI what they said it was doing inside their own operations, and I think the data really speaks for itself. So 17% said that AI actually increased their employment, while 4% said it decreased it. So businesses were 4 times more likely to report that AI is increasing their headcount than decreasing it, which when we talk about unique data storytelling, cutting through hype, cutting through noise, this was really a data point that cut against the grain. I mean, how many of us have seen story after story about AI leading to job cuts? AI driving layoffs, those things might or may not be true for larger corporations, but again, the audience we're speaking to and the segment we're speaking to here are smaller businesses on the ground that don't have those resources and they're trying to operate nimbly um, and increase productivity. So for them, we're seeing again, they're 4 times more likely to report that AI is actually helping them increase their teams rather than decreasing them.
Yeah,
And then,
and
oh, go ahead. Yeah.
no, no. I mean, it's just so proud. I mean, you're talking about like nearly 1 in 6 businesses increasing their employment here, and this is what I've gotten tired of a lot of this. Like, will AI take our jobs or not? I mean, there are clearly major shifts happening o- to the workforce, and with I mean, I'm sure everyone in this room has felt AI impacting their job in some way, but that, yeah, but it's like, okay, what's really going to happen and what's really happening and what can we actually do about it? And like beyond just these pat answers, like we need more training and we need, like, and we need reskilling and, um, so yeah, I mean, this kind of thing, I mean, it just seems like I haven't come across much else that's like marrying that actual data and survey data, which is why things like this are pretty necessary.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, again, I think this is sort of our trump card. Like, this is what we can pull out of our pocket and say, actually, the data is showing the trend is going against what you're hearing most frequently. And again, I think an important distinction here when we talk about marketing, when we talk about communication, is always keeping your particular audience in mind. And for us, we know small businesses and businesses that are scaling or trying to scale, they're very different from, no offense, the Intuits of the world, right?
Mhm.
Like, they're very different from these corporations that are already at scale, that have the resourcing. And so to be able to say that they're actually leveraging AI for real change in their operations, um, real help, and making sure that their day to day is running a little more smoothly, I think that's just an immense thing to contribute to the conversation.
Mhm.
Right. So 43% said that AI increased their revenue. Only 2% said that it decreased revenue. So if you're doing the math, small businesses were 21 times more likely to report that
Mhm.
AI is actually driving up their revenue, right? Only 2% are saying it's driving it down. 29% says that AI decreased costs. And then 27%, so about one in four, say that AI has shortened the length of their workday. I mean, just check, 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 check across the board. We're talking about revenue, we're talking about employment, we're talking about length of workday, and we're talking about cost. Those are like the four.
Well, and then with this, I mean, it just makes it may have so many more questions as far as like trying to understand these small business owners because it's like who are they hiring now, right? Like where is this revenue coming from? What kinds of costs are they actually saving? And if they're and if a quarter of them are decreasing the time spent on their workday, then is that going to leisure? Are they putting it back into the business? If they're putting it back to the business, what parts of the business are they putting it back to? Like, are there other shifts? Like, does it make childcare easier? Are there some ripple
Mhm.
effects that if a quarter of all small businesses like now have a little extra time on their hands, then does that help productivity? Does it help like like if childcare then becomes easier, well then that can have all kinds of positive benefits in terms of family life, right? Like so there could be a lot of these like bellwethers
Mhm.
nestled in here, just like waiting to be unpacked.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think when we talk about opportunity, right? I sit on the comp side, but when we talk about opportunity for marketers, I mean, who doesn't want to be told you can get more time in the day, you can get more time back to do the things that you were talking about, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I can already see like a commercial forming in my head, right? You can use the AI and have, you can pick up your kid. You can actually make it to pick up your kid on Wednesday afternoon instead of, having to sacrifice that time because you have to deal with onboarding your new employee or just anything like that. I mean,
Yeah.
really, those are the things that hit people in their guts. And I think when we're talking about impact, these are the things that business owners who are people at the end of the day are most invested in. So, I want to be careful here because
Mhm.
also I think an important part and a responsible part of data storytelling and marketing is putting some guardrails on the data. And I think what we're not trying to say here is that AI magically solves every business challenge, right? You're going to magically be able to. I mean, what did Sam Altman say? Like the first $1 million one person business, like you're going to be making $1 million tomorrow and not have to hire anybody if you use AI. Like we want to be really careful. That's not what we're trying to say
Yeah.
at all. I think the point here is that you can actually get some wins in day to day and week to week using AI, and that's what we're seeing in the data. And that, you know, again, that there are more gains than setbacks, even in a tougher year. So, powerful pattern. Business owners are saying that AI is helping with outcomes they care about most here. And this gives us practical proof points without needing exaggerated claims, right? Um, so one more thing I want to throw into the ring here when we're talking about business impact, and this is really of all the measures we looked at, the clearest and most consistent, the most powerful, which is productivity. Productivity. So across every country surveyed, roughly like 3 in 4 businesses say AI has improved their productivity in the US, 78%, Canada, 73, etc. So this is the biggest win because productivity is easy for business owners to understand. It means getting more time, getting more done, having more time, saving more time, helping lean teams move faster, right? And if you're a business owner or a business operator that, can't hire 10 more people in a year, that is something you're highly invested in. It means creating capacity for higher value work. Who wants to be stocking the floor when they can be doing projections and forecasting and working on their growth strategies, right? So productivity is becoming the bridge between our tech story and the more human story. When owners are talking about AI, the most relatable benefit is time back, which we were talking about. So, productivity is the AI proof point people understand, I think, fastest. It's concrete, it's practical, and tied to daily work. And this is a really strong entry point. I'm starting with the work that AI helps people do and then connecting it back to technology. Okay, so we talked about sort of the broader AI use, right, which comes from our survey data. That was more than 34,000 responses. What about the paid adoption? What about the businesses that are actually putting money down when it comes to AI? And again, this is our market differentiator. Most most projects, most data storytelling when they're talking about AI, they're talking about survey responses only. We married survey responses with looking at anonymized payment data. So what did we find? The businesses paying for AI share a recognizable pattern. Paid adoption is strongest among newer businesses, which makes sense. Newer businesses often have fewer entrenched systems and legacy processes to work around. It's also stronger, and I think this is really interesting, among growth focused businesses. Businesses who report that they are um, targeting fast growth are more than twice as likely to pay for AI. And paid adoption is also concentrated in digital first industries. So, information, professional services, education lead in the US. And these are industries where writing, analysis, client communication, research, all that content heavy workflow are core to the business. We also see differences by profile. So, I don't think it's any surprise to anybody who's been listening that you're more likely business owners are more likely to use AI the younger they are, which is not surprising. But I also think when we're talking about um, opening up opportunities for marketers, I mean that creates definitely an opportunity to market to older and more established business owners. So this slide just helps us think about targeting. Early paid adopters are not just naturally AI people, they're businesses with specific conditions, growth goals, digital workflows, fewer legacy barriers, leaders more open to new tools, and also looking at the other end of the spectrum, maybe leaders that need um, an introduction to modern developments, right? And that helps us tailor messages by readiness and not just by industry, which I think is really important. Okay, so that's all well and good. But again, we're trying to build credibility here. So, what about what's holding businesses back from leveraging AI more or at all? What are they reporting? So, even as adoption grows, I would say the barriers are very, very clear. The top concern is privacy and security, which in the US, 1 out of 3 business owners cite as a barrier. That's a lot of people. 3
Mhm.
small business owners are saying that they have privacy concerns. The second is limited knowledge of AI capabilities. So 1 in 4 are saying that 28%. Not knowing what AI can do and what the possibilities are. And then the third is accuracy concerns. So 26%. Again, 1 in 4 saying that they're a little concerned about errors, bias. Cost matters here, but it doesn't lead in the top three. The bigger issue and the theme running through all of this is trust and confidence. Can I protect my data? Do I understand what the tool can do? Can I trust the output? Before businesses go deeper, they need that confidence. That is especially important for small and growing businesses because the owner is often the final decision maker, operator, marketing, finance lead. Obviously, that changes as businesses scale. But when we're talking about the smaller businesses, um, yeah, they need to be able to trust that what they are creating is not going to hurt their business. They're worried about if AI gets something wrong, there may be there may not be like a large team to catch it, right? There may not be those resources behind them to flag it. So trust has to be part of the message from the beginning. And I think this is a blessing and businesses telling us what is keeping them back from actually leveraging AI more. And again, it just creates an opportunity. Trust has to be part of the message from the beginning. AI marketing cannot only focus on speed and efficiency. I feel like I have to say that again. It cannot only focus on speed and efficiency. Like we know now from the horse's mouth, trust is a big part of the conversation. So it also has to answer confidence questions. Is it secure? Is it accurate? Is it easily understandable? Where does human review fit? And trust is a communications requirement, I think, here, not a footnote. So, what about where people are actually leveraging AI most across business operations? Where are they actually using it the most day to day? And this slide shows us where they seem to be more comfortable using AI and where they're moving more slowly. So, in the US, based on a 4 wave survey average, AI shows up most in marketing, customer service, and admin. And these are workflows with clearer inputs and outputs. There's a draft to review, a response to approve, or a summary to check. The scope is really contained here, right? A person can review the work before anything is finalized, and that helps explain why these use cases lead. But on the other side of the spectrum, right, AI shows up least in employee management, product management, and legal. Does that surprise anybody? Probably not that much.
Uh, it-
Does
Yeah.
a little bit because we keep hearing that law firms are replacing, young associates with
Mm.
AI. So it's a little surprising, but it's data as opposed to the anecdotes. So that's interesting to see.
Yeah, can you go a little further on what the parallel you're drawing between that and uh employee management showing up?
Well, not employee management, but the
Oh,
legal.
legal, yeah.
We just
Yeah.
keep hearing that, new graduates, from law school are having difficulty getting jobs because law firms can just use AI to read a
I
country,
see.
what have
I
you.
see.
Um, but this is data, as we know. So this is really good. It helps to inform.
Yeah, and I think it's important to clarify here, Sally, that this is task, not industry. So at a small business, any sort of legal task that a small business is trying to conquer, they're least likely to use AI for it.
Right. That's indeed right. Yeah. They might have one person doing the legal. Gotcha. That's also
Yeah.
great.
I'm surprised programming is not part of this, right? For development.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of consider that, well, programming.
That's not surprising. Most SMBs don't use a lot of dev.
yeah.
Some may in the tech space, but if you're in SMB, we're talking things like retail or food and beverage. You're not
Yep.
usually using dev when it comes to the SMBs. Depends on
Yeah.
your sector or
Yeah, I would think that's something they would be outsourcing and not diving into as much by themselves. So legal does rank last in the US, and not just only in the US, but across every country and every quarterly wave in our data. So without exception. And I think that consistency is really meaningful. Businesses are drawing a line around work where judgment, accountability, and risk matter way more. So the pattern is not that businesses are just rejecting AI. That's not what we're trying to say here. I think it's that they are choosing and being particular about where it belongs and what workflows benefit most from AI. I think this is a useful framework when we talk about AI messaging, because customers may be open to AI, but they're not open to using it everywhere in the same way, right? We're talking about AI at different altitudes. Um, Marketers, I think, match the message to the risk level of the workflow. For lower risk workflows, right, with the marketing, customer service, admin, leading with speed and capacity and ease makes sense. But for something like a higher risk workflow, like legal, Sally, right, we're talking about small businesses doing legal tasks. Leading with messaging around oversight, control, transparency, and human judgment is really critical for any storytelling around those areas. Okay, so that is a really quick overview of our data. At this point, we had our story. We had all the data we needed. We had the evidence. We had clear findings on adoption, impact, productivity, paid commitment, trust, and use cases. The next challenge is distribution, right? A report by itself is not a communication strategy. The question becomes, how do we turn this into something that can travel across audiences and channels? And that's where amplification came in. So, strong research really needs a go to market plan. As we know, the job isn't only to publish the report, it's really to build enough entry points that different audiences can find the piece of the story that matters most to them. So, for us, we're talking about small and growing businesses. We're talking about also accountants, and we're also talking about researchers, media, reporters, economists. So we have to really think about across the spectrum, how are we going to package the story for each of those segments? So we had to treat the report as the source of truth and then build a multi-channel content engine around it. So PR, our external comms teams, they brought the findings into earned and placed media across three markets, the US, Canada, and the UK. We published the report as a global report. So it lived across 7 URLs on our platforms, including some in the US, Canada, UK, and Australia. And then also our accountant facing blog, Firm of the Future. We also have an accountant podcast blog called On the Books. It lived there. And then our larger brand Intuit, it lived on that blog as well. So again, meeting different audiences where they're at. Video, which we know is critical to help cut through uh, information overload, especially on social media. Video helped make the findings more interactive and accessible. Social gave us short form ways to bring the data into feeds. And then influencer really helped us meet audiences in creator led formats. I think another differentiator here for us is our public policy amplification. And that really used the data to support conversations about small businesses and AI and access to AI, and helping small businesses clear hurdles to using AI and being able to pay for it, invest in it. We also looked at syndication and paid amplification. So that's Stacker and Taboola. And then our accountant podcast gave us another way to reach accountants and small business audiences with more context. So the strategy was really to keep the data consistent, right, across all audiences, but adapt the format to the channel. So one report can become many assets if the narrative architecture is really strong. And the key is to avoid treating each channel like a separate story. We use the same core key findings and then change the format and the depth and the hook based on the audience and platform. And this video was one of the ways we made the data more engaging. I think the concept was really simple, and we worked with our video team. We wanted to take the findings from the report and make them more accessible for small business owners. So that's one segment we're trying to talk to. Um, the year prior, we only did talking head expert videos where we had our lead for data comms go over the findings in sort of a talking head format. We did that again this year, but we pushed ourselves a little bit further and said, okay, that may speak to researchers and economists and media really well, but that format is not going to hit a small business in their gut. What can we do if some small business owners just scrolling on Instagram late at night and they want to come across something that will help them understand, how do I use AI in my business, or what data do I have out there to help me cut through the hype here? So we did hit the streets and we quizzed small business owners, asking them about findings around revenue and productivity, hiring. The format really worked because it turned data into more of a conversation. It also gave us a way to show where the findings were intuitive and where they were surprising. Instead of asking people to read the full report first, we gave them a quick way in. So I'm going to play a little bit of this, I hope.
Today, we are in Boise, Idaho, and I have some of the latest data on AI's impact for small businesses. So we are actually going to go quiz some local business owners and answer the question, is AI actually useful for business, or is it all just hype? Let's find out. Hi, I'm Jessica Norris, and I own Dilly's Pickles. My name's Christina Mogg, and I own Hoopla. I'm Linda Lloyd with Georgia Cycles.
My name's Harry Maloof. I'm the local owner of Hike Doggy Treasure Valley.
Are you ready to be quizzed? I am. Okay, first question, here we go. True or false, more than 3 out of 4 businesses use AI regularly? True. True.
I would say false.
The answer is true. You are right. Off to a good start. Okay, well, a little more than 3 and 4, 77% of U.S. businesses report using AI regularly, and that's up from 57% last year. I saw you trying to look. Okay. Here we go. Next up, true or false, the number one thing holding businesses back from AI is current concerns about cost.
You could see that.
I would say false.
I'd say true for that. False.
It's false.
All right, I'm going to pause there. We'll give you the link so you can watch the whole thing. But you can see how we took the findings and packaged them up in a format that would speak to small business owners and, more importantly, humanize the data, right? I think it's really easy for us when we're thinking about all these audiences that we have to speak to be like, well, the data should be enough. And that unfortunately just isn't true. We really need to meet people where they're at. And so this is the full hero video for the report on YouTube. We then took this and did social cut down. So we made this into like 20-second reels that can go on LinkedIn, that went on Meta. And this is a way that we really try to speak to business owners and meet them where they're at. Let's see if I can get out of this now. I do want to give time for Q&A, but I do want to show this as well. We're almost at the end. So we also brought the report into our Reactive Trends influencer program. So for this activation, creators used the split screen trend, which is very cool. And they showed their day in a timestamp format. And then the report's findings were integrated softly into that content. So a really subtle nod to the report in the context of how are they running their business. And that was really intentional. We didn't want the report to feel forced into the trend. We wanted the data to show up in a context where creators were already talking about their workday, their business, and how they manage their time. And that made productivity and AI adoption feel much more natural and a little more glamorous, I have to say. So I will also play this, hopefully. So really short. And again, the data is and the findings are highlighted here in the caption. So we had 3 of these from our influencer program. And for us, that really influencer marketing works best when the data fits the creator's real context. And, AI research, I think, can feel distant if it's only presented in report language. So creator formats can really make the findings feel closer to the business owner's actual day. And seeing themselves reflected, seeing small business owners scrolling and seeing themselves reflected, and then subtly having the data piped in, I think is a really great way to integrate our insights and not interrupt the content and the messaging. So that is everything. I do want to pause here and open it up for questions and conversation. Happy to talk about the report findings and the methodology or the channel strategy. Um, a few questions we do often get is like, how'd you decide which data points to lead with? And how'd you keep the story accurate without making it too technical? So I would say the biggest takeaway is that AI stories are strongest when they are specific and grounded and connected to the work that people are actually trying to do in people's schools. Um, the AI conversation moves fast, but the fundamentals of good communication still apply, knowing our audience, grounding the story in evidence, making the message useful, I would say protecting nuance, right? And giving people a clear reason to care. Any questions?
I am beyond impressed. I've done multimedia strategy and content storytelling, uh, and I am so impressed by your program. And I've been talking to several people this week, including an author who makes some claims in a book saying, we've got to get the data out there. If you're claiming your book is based on research, we have to show it, and you have just done an excellent job showing the facts and then engaging people in like everyday language, especially the video. I would just give you an A plus. It was state of the art, truly state of the art.
That is very kind. I'm glad that it resonated with you. Again, I am one person representing a huge team effort, so I will pass that along. I mean, again, you saw we partnered across multiple channels, influencer, policy team, blog team, web team, PR. So it really doing that and having the ability to do that really requires collaboration and understanding which lane collaborators live in, where their expertise lies, and how to leverage it best to, again, segment and tailor the messaging as much as possible.
Right. Well, we did something similar at Accenture. We had a study on the most loved brands and the digital disruptors like Netflix. This was several years ago, but before the pandemic even, and Netflix became the most loved brand. But we were able to name those names, and we had the data and the methodology very clear. Any reporter could have seen it and trusted the methodology. And then it just kind of like your program just expanded across channels. So I just really hats off. It's just a gorgeous piece of work.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, I definitely think we're definitely in the age of information overload. But again, I think the appeal is still there for data. If it's credible, if it's rigorous, if it's built with guardrails, and if it's honest and transparent. We always publish our methodology. We're very clear that we're speaking about certain subsectors of people. We're not talking about, every single small business across the world. And yeah, I still think people are very hungry for making sense of how fast the business landscape is moving, and data is so critical for that.
Yeah. I'll let somebody else talk.
Yeah, and I think that there's also something that I'd imagine is comforting, especially on the small business front, where so many business owners are kind of doing things in their own silos and vacuums and whatnot, where it's like, okay, so they're not the only ones with some of these accuracy concerns or privacy concerns, or they're not the only ones seeing this, and it's not like everyone just embraced this head on, right? Like even with like the use cases for marketing, it's not like most businesses are using it for marketing yet, and so some of this seeing some of this like, okay, we're not behind, we're our like very some of it can just be very validating.
Absolutely. And I think that is a very human piece of the story. Our team talks to business owners quite frequently. We're doing qual interviews or we're doing hero video interviews. And I think a very human part of entrepreneurship is loneliness. and not feeling like, you don't know what you're doing. You don't know what your peers are doing. You want more insight into what other people are doing. And so I think, David, you hit the nail on the head. Part of this is just reinforcing, and we actually put it on the landing page, like, you're not behind. This is what the data is showing, that you're not behind. If you're not paying for AI already, you're not behind. But data shows that if you do pay for it, you're most likely to stay invested a year later. So I think it's really important to reinforce that for our audience, our business owners, because it can feel pretty isolating to know, I mean, we talked to an accountant once who was like, I go to bed and there's one suite of apps that are available to me. And then I wake up and it's multiplied by 3. People are feeling overwhelmed and unsure. And I feel like reassuring them that they're not alone in their experience, and they're not behind, is a really critical piece here.
And I'm curious for you, without necessarily sharing an actual plan that may or may not be able to be shared, like looking at all this that's been done so far, what do you want to dive into next? What questions do you want answers to?
That is a great question, I think. Honestly, I do feel like our productivity finding was very loud and clear. I want to dig a little bit deeper into the revenue finding. I think that is like up there with productivity in terms of what business owners, the language that business owners speak, right?
Mhm.
People are ultimately in business to, well, they obviously want to be self-fulfilled and happy, but nothing happens if the money's not there. So I feel like the revenue story, we could actually get much deeper on that and investigate that further.
Oh, other questions from the group here? I know we've got a mix of folks from like deep in on the data side, some are deeper into storytelling and other aspects. So, curious what else Jamerlyn can help clarify for us.
I guess I just want to jump in here and say, Jeremy, thank you so much for the presentation. For most people who don't know, I'm a recovering data analyst. So one of the biggest challenges I had to learn early in my career was how to translate the findings I did from all my analysis and all the research into a way that was digestible to the target audiences. Like, I read books on presentations and how to communicate these ideas. So I think that, to your point about people are always looking for being data driven and looking at the data and using evidence-based claims. However, it takes another skill set to translate those findings into recommendations and practical advice that'll be applicable to your audiences, especially your target audience, which are SMBs, which they don't need theory, they need practical things. So this is really helpful to confirm that.
I'm so happy to hear that, and you're absolutely right. Again, the creating the report is almost the easiest part. It's the report. It's the part that we work on with our data analysts. It's numbers. It's hard data. Like, it's so easy, right? It's just easy to be like, this is the hard number. This is the fact. This is the methodology. I think the more nuanced part, and the part that you're talking about, is tailoring the messaging, and that requires a lot more strategy, a lot more collaboration, a lot more sensitivity. And I think an important part here too is also like not being afraid to do test and learns. You can look up our landing page for each report that we've done in the last few years. We're always testing, what will land better? Is this the right data viz, or is this the right approach to our data viz? Or do we need more findings on the page? Do we need less? Always like being open to new ways and new approaches and seeing what really lands.
Awesome.
To Earl's point, to the data, and I'm not a data scientist, did you guys increase your productivity by using AI for the initial data crunch? And like, how did you use AI for the data crunching?
That's a great question. So, we write the report in collaboration with a team of economists from U Chicago, who are really well known for small business data, and our internal data analysts. So I think, like, on a random Tuesday, I got sent like a 30-page, really dense research report. And obviously, we have to do our due diligence and read the whole thing top to bottom, understand what the findings are, start talking about the data and the methodology. But that first, like, cut of, okay, these are like the three top findings I'm finding reading through this. Am I missing anything critical before I start shipping this out internally? I think that was a really helpful way that we approached it with AI. I mean, everything from we have my colleague is also on the call, Miranda, who did the web experience, helping us put together the layout for the web and just kind of drafting it in Google Doc first so we can understand where everything lays out. So definitely for our team, I would say AI has helped a lot in this process and increased our productivity. I would say the pains of the process from 3 years ago to this year have significantly subsided, and I think a lot of that is due to AI.
Well,
I can just say for myself as a small business owner, the biggest productivity gain for me has been coding.
mhm.
And
Yes.
you hear so many companies laying off people because AI is taking over coding. And that's also the biggest cost. I mean, I pay $100 a month for Claude, which is more than the other ones.
Well, and this is a piece that, like, if I could wave a wand here, right? Like, I'd love to see us get into, because like yes, like, totally valid point. I think especially for folks like yourself who are already building things, right, and more technical, and then there are folks who I relate to a little better who are not so technical and are building way more and doing way more things that couldn't be done before. And so I'm curious where it's replacing, where it's additive. And I don't have the data. I only know things anecdotally. And so I'd love to see more on that, and like what those real stories are. And so I think that's a good segue to wrap things up for with you, Jamerlyn, because these are kinds of stories that it's like it's a good sign when the research you're putting out just makes us hungry for more. And like, what else can you ask? What more can we do with it? Uh, like, how does it inspire us to tell more stories based on the data? So I appreciate you sharing all of this with us, and take some time to just walk us through it, including behind the scenes.
Thank you so much for having me. This was just a really cherished and fun project for us, and it's one that we highly value, and we are finding that all of our audiences are increasingly valuing. So, just really great opportunity to talk to like-minded professionals about data storytelling and the opportunities around it.
Well, good news is I know where to reach you, and how to invite you back for a future session. So can't wait for more research to come out. Thanks so much, and thanks everyone for the great questions and comments as always. And yeah, we'll see everyone next week.